Good morning, everyone. I wanted to talk to you about a concept this morning. I just saw a post on Facebook about what do you do when the students are late for a class, and I wanted to give you some suggestions about what to do about that. One is this is about building a culture, and that being late is not okay. Now, how do you do that, right? So it is part of our curriculum to teach a concept. We teach this in very early stage to the parents and to the kids at the same time. And the concept is very simple. It's about consequences, okay? That there are generally two different kinds of consequences. There are logical consequences and there's natural consequences. So perfect example of that would be when you and this is has to do with the family culture also. The day I deal with my kids also at the same way is what happens if your room is dirty, for your kids. What's the logical consequence of that? Well, logical consequence is your parents will be upset, or you might get grounded, or all this other stuff that's going to happen. But what's the natural consequence? The natural consequence is you can't find anything. You get embarrassed when your friends will come over, right? Those are the natural consequences, right? And so imagine living a life and having a culture where you're more concerned about the natural consequence rather than logical. So being late for a class. So what happens when you're late for a class? The instructor might get mad at you. You might have to do push-ups, whatever. But the natural consequences, you miss the learning, right? You miss the beginning of the class, or we might talk about what's going to happen during the class. And if you start building that culture where people are more concerned about the natural consequence, not so much logical, I think you're going to see a huge difference in the way you build your culture in your school. It's the same thing with lying. I teach this to the kids, and sometimes the adults, that what happens when you lie? What's the logical consequence? Well, the other person might find out what happened. They'll get mad at you. But what's the natural consequence? Is that they won't trust you anymore. Right? So I think that's it's kind of an important thing for us to build into our culture of our martial arts school, to teach the difference between these two, the logical consequence and a natural consequence. The other thing about handling people that are late, which I personally believe in, what do you think is the first thing you should ask when a person comes in, is late, standing to come in the door? As an instructor, what do you think should be the first thing we should ask? Well, in my opinion, the first thing should be you should walk up, touch the other person by hand or shoulder, just to touch, and ask them a sincere question, and by saying, is everything okay? Are you okay? And once you do that, people will understand that you care more about them than the fact that they're late. Right? So once you walk up to a parent and say, is everything okay? I noticed your son was late today. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can help you with? People will start seeing things and differently. You start treating people like humans, beings, and they'll understand the message of not being late, right? So instead of having him do push-ups or punishing him for being late, because a lot of times it's not the kid's fault, right? It's the parents, and so many challenges. As a parent myself, I got to drop off this one here, this one there. But if you just come across from, what can I do to help you? Is everything okay? Are you okay? Right? I think you're going to see a huge difference in the way you operate your classes. So consider teaching, but more importantly, doing and operating your life from this stage of, from this this arena of natural consequences, not so much logical ones. Anyway, I hope this little clip helps with you building a culture for your family and for your school.